Welcome to Davinci Resolve, as simple as possible. Today I hope to show you, as a very first time user, how you can create a video with Davinci Resolve. This won't be special effects, this won't be craziness. It's going to be just the simple bare basics that you need to output a sequence of media that you've created. When you first open Davinci Resolve, it lands you in the Project Manager. Project Manager is where all of your projects get stored. I'm going to start a new project. It's called Untitled at the moment. I'm going to click File and Save Project. This gives my project Demo 1 a project name. Now, as we said, we want to add different film clips or other media into a sequence, and then we want to output that sequence. The way that Davinci does that, it gives you in here in your Edit tab, to keep this simple, a media pool, which is visible by clicking Media Pool in the top left-hand corner of the screen. From here, I can either right-click and import media, or I can drag and drop footage into my media pool. Notice I got a warning here. The clips have different frame rate than the current project settings. I know that my default project settings are 24 frames per second, and that this footage is different. It's 30 frames per second. What you want to do here, if this pops up, is just click Change. This will set up your timeline to accept your footage at native speed. I feel like adding a couple of other pieces here. There we go. And now I've got plenty of footage that I can use for my timeline. But how do I add it into a sequence? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is double click it or drag it here into this preview window. Now, for me to be able to use this footage, I need to figure out what parts of it I want to use. If I'd like to use all of it, I can drag it down and drop it into my timeline. This adds every bit of this footage into the timeline. I don't want to do that though. I only want a piece of this. So I'm going to double click on it. It's now open in my preview window. And I'm going to press Spacebar to start to preview it. Now, if I don't want to sit here forever waiting for it to play through the whole thing, and I know of a spot where I've got something interesting, I can hit the L key a couple times, which then puts it into fast forward. Alternatively, I can hit J to go backwards. Say I like that zoom right there of Mount Rushmore. I hit I for in, and what I'm doing is I'm selecting a piece of this footage. So again, it is Spacebar to play it real time. And it is J to go backwards, L to go forwards and fast forward, Spacebar to stop. So I'm going to hit I. I means in. I'm creating an in point. This starts my selection of this track of footage. And I'm now going to press Spacebar to play. That has the exact same effect of pressing the play button. I get to the point in the footage where I like it. I'm going to press J to go back. And right here, I'm going to press O. This creates, as you'll notice here at the bottom, a selection that I can see a zoom in section. I'm going to grab that, and I'm just going to grab the center of the footage, or alternatively, to just get the video, I can pull this down, or for video and audio, I can pull down the center of the footage, or just for the audio, I can drag this down and only pull the audio. Alternatively, I can press F9, and it will add the footage that I have selected under the playhead, which is this red line that's shown down in your timeline. So I'm now going to fast forward a touch, grab something else that looks moderately interesting by pressing I, and you'll notice I scrubbed ahead by grabbing this marker on my preview window from a media pool and dragging it around. So I take it somewhere it looks interesting. I'm going to press I for another in point, Spacebar to play it, and now I'm going to select O as an out point. Drag that down. I now have two pieces of footage here in my timeline. So from here, I'm going to continue in this fashion until I have all of the clips that I want in order playing. From here, I have options. I can add effects using the effects library, which you'll notice right next to your media pool button in the top left-hand corner. Turn it on. There are some video transitions. There are other features you can play with, but right now we're going to go for a cross dissolve and drop it on the transition between the two clips. What this does is create a fade, there we go, between the two of the clips when they're playing. And notice as I play the footage down here with my spacebar or drag around and scrub in it, it shows in the right-hand viewer. If you're missing the right-hand viewer, you can get it by hitting this button up here. This button is a single viewer pane view or a double. Now I've got both. This is media pool, this is timeline view. And you'll notice that there's a blur between Rushmore and the lakes here at Grand Teton. That is the effect of a transition. Now let's say you wanted to make the transition longer. If you click on the transition and look in the top right-hand corner, ensuring that your inspector window is on by clicking the top right-hand inspector icon, you get to see the properties of that transition. Now this inspector window is for everything. So I can click on some footage. There we go. I have the properties for this footage. I can click on the other footage, or I can go back to my transition. In this case, I'm going to make it 3 seconds, 4 seconds long instead of 1 second long. And you notice it's dragged out across my timeline because my timeline does run from 0 seconds forward, and the footage plays across it now with a much slower transition between the two cuts of footage. So I've got my timeline set up, I've got some effects built onto it, it's dragged some audio in. I'd now like to create this output. So I click on the Deliver tab. These are the only two tabs that you need if you really just want to come out with a very basic timeline. And I will go to the top and now select one of the drop downs for the presets. The YouTube preset is probably the best for you in your output in your first footage. I'll just select 1080p and I'll leave everything else the same. I'll click Add to Render Queue. And adding to the render queue, I get a job on the right. This has not started my render, which means to output into one cohesive video file all of the effects and footage that you've put together. Instead, I click on the right-hand side here, Start Render, and it creates my output. You'll notice it's going pretty quickly. There we go, and it is now out. I can right-click here and reveal this in media storage, or, most importantly, open file location, which has now opened my file location. Here it is, named Timeline 1, because I didn't change the name of it. And here I've got my Timeline 1 output that you can see as I play. The zoom in, the cross dissolve, and now Grand Tetons. So that is about as simple as it could be to add footage into Resolve through the media pool that you can access here, to then view and move around in the preview window, creating your in and out points with keystrokes I and O, dragging your footage into your timeline, and then rendering it through your Deliver tab. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to see more tutorials like this that are as simple as possible, please comment below and subscribe, because I'll be creating some more for a variety of video editing software packages. Thank you and have a great day.